It was a departure from the pop rock of the day. In 1995, Alanis Morissette's album Jagged Little Pill was groundbreaking. The album was praised for its musical storytelling and giving women a louder, viable voice. Music journalist Selena Fragassi is the author of Alanis, 30 Years of Jagged Little Pill. The book features photos, revealing interviews, and Selena's journalistic insights, which she's sharing with us now. Good morning, Selena.
Good morning.
All right, let's get some insights into you first. You grew up in a very musical family. It seems like everybody, brother, grandfather, mom, all played instruments, your dad as well, but you didn't play anything.
I tried, but I failed.
You tried.
Now I write about musicians. Yeah.
But music was all around you growing up. In the house, you kind of, some of your fondest memories were like the Motown Sundays, and the whole family was up and dancing.
Yeah, my dad was a big vinyl collector, so every Sunday he put on a new Motown record. My mom would make pancakes, and we'd have a dance party. It's like one of my fondest memories.
All right, y'all were that family. You could hear the music probably coming out of the house like they're having fun again. All right, what was your first concert?
Oh, that's a great question. Boys to Men and Brandy and Babyface when I was 11.
You went at 11. This is good. Okay, but you got knocked down by the crowd, which kind of set the mood you have for going to concerts today.
That's so funny you know that. Yeah, someone thought they saw one of the Boys to Men, and there was like kind of like a trampling thing, and I got knocked to the ground, and so I have a bit of claustrophobia, but I managed.
Yeah. All right. You are an author. You were an author even before you were an author. You started writing early. Age 10, you wrote your own plays. You directed and starred in them in the church basement. That's the great thing. When you write your own plays, you can be the star, right? You wrote The Boy and His Secret, about a little boy who loved ballet, but you didn't want to share it with your friends. It was just kind of your own thing. But you submitted it, it was submitted by a teacher, I should say, into a contest, and it won. And that really kind of encouraged you from there.
Yeah, it sure did. And to this day, I still think that the makers of Billy Elliot probably saw it because it's a very similar storyline.
Oh, you need to get your royalties.
Yeah.
We'll work on that later. All right. Sometimes when you love doing something and it's a passion of yours, you're not quite sure that you can make a living at it, but you got your degree in fiction writing from Columbia College in Chicago. Did you get that degree thinking that you would really make a career out of it, or hoping to make a career out of it?
Both, I think. I always was very encouraged to be a writer and to express myself, and that I had talent in that regard. And my teachers were my coaches throughout college. They were very active in their fields, and so I made a lot of very early connections.
Yeah. Music critic for 17 years. I love you. Started with a magazine called Venus Zine. You wrote about women in music. One of those women you wrote about was somebody that most people just really didn't know. What's her name again? Oh, Adele.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, one of a very early piece on Adele. This was around 2007, so right before she kind of crested. We spent a day in Chicago. She kept offering me Diet Cokes. She was lovely.
All right. And it's in this book, all of your books actually, that you get little details like that no one knows about, like her offering you Diet Cokes. But Alanis Morissette, 30 Years of Jagged Little Pill, the first book on a female artist that you've done, but you did tons of research, 100 spins of the album. The book includes all kinds of things, the making of the album, her pop star past, what each song actually means. So many times we hear a song and we sing along to it, we memorize the words, but we have no idea what it means or how it was inspired. So tell us about Alanis from the get-go.
You know, Alanis is so fascinating. From a very young age, about 10 or so, she was already writing songs, and she already showed promise. Her parents were connected to a Canadian folk duo that kind of steered her along and coached her very early on. And from there, she had her first single come out when she was 10 called Fate Stay With Me. And she just showed so much promise. And so when she was elder, about 14, 15, she was getting interest from record labels. MCA Records Canada signed her. And then she came out with 2 pop star albums before we knew her in America as the Jagged Little Pill songwriter.
Yeah. All right. And then she had that series of ups and downs, which most artists go through. Doing great. It's like showing that promise that you talked about, but then a record label drops her, which was kind of a good thing.
Yeah, in the beginning, people thought maybe she'd be a one-hit wonder, kind of happens in the pop world. But then it led to what happened with meeting Glenn Ballard in the United States, and she made Jagged Little Pill, and here we are.
Yeah. What was it about Jagged Little Pill that got so many people's attention?
You know, it was so different for the time. I think we had just come off of the real sheen and polish of the 80s pop scene with Madonna and Paula Abdul, Janet Jackson, artists who she kind of emulated as a pop star herself. But I think, in the 90s, times were changing and there was more of a youthful kind of rebellion. And she really spoke to that community, in particular women. So Nirvana came through with Nevermind and they created a whole different tide. But then Alanis came in and really was so raw and honest and touched on a lot of life experiences that women could relate to in particular.
Yeah. Speaking of rebellion, weren't you like a 12-year-old little Catholic schoolgirl and you decided to go into hard rock?
Yeah. I talk about this in the intro of the book, but it was my uncle who introduced me to this album. He loved Alanis. He loved female singer-songwriters and artists. And one day we were in his car and You Ought to Know came on, and little Catholic school kid me was like, oh my God, what are we listening to? But he made me promise that one day I would listen again and it would mean something, and it sure did.
Yeah, You Ought to Know. And then, of course, the most popular single, Ironic, which ironic almost didn't happen. Or we almost didn't hear it, put it that way.
Yeah, it's a song that they wrote, Alanis and Glenn Ballard, and she really didn't want it on the album, which is crazy to think about now. But to this day, she kind of got the meaning of the word wrong. It's more coincidences than irony. So now, it's changed our perception of the word. So it's kind of powerful in that regard.
Yeah. Why will Jagged endure? And what do people get out of reading your book?
Well, I think 30 years later, the proof is still there. You have so many artists, many of whom I quote in my book, who have talked about the impact that Alanis had on their own careers. Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo, Halsey, Pink, Katy Perry, who actually searched out Glenn Ballard on her debut album because she loved Jagged Little Pill so much. So this album has just lived on. It's influenced a whole new generation of singer-songwriters. And really, the themes are so universal that people can still relate to it even now in 2025.
Yeah. All right. What next artist do you have percolating in your head that you would like to take a deep dive into?
So I have a few books that are coming out. They're not publicly announced yet. I will say there's some more pop-leaning artists and one very, very big rock artist.
Oh, tell me one. I won't tell anybody.
I know, we're live, right?
Oh, yeah, oh, wait, that part. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for giving us the entertainment behind the entertainment.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Selena Fragassi's new book, Alanis, 30 Years of Jagged Little Pill, is available now at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Target, and any other place where books are sold. For more information, visit greatdayhouston.com, and we will connect you.